Today I wanted to have a chat about my worst books of 2024. I actually don't have too many of them because I ended up DNFing a lot of books this year because I talk about it all in another video, but I have started to realise that I can just put books down. I don't need to try and finish them all. And so I have very few terrible books to talk about, but I do still have 10 that I would like to discuss. Some of these are rated low because they're just so disappointing, and others are rated low because they're just freaking weird and I regret reading them. I did have one star read in 2024 and that was all, so that's my top worst book of the year. I will save that until the end. The rest of these books I rated 2 stars and there's a good amount of them. So let's get started. Let's talk about the worst books that I read in 2024. The first book that I didn't have a good time with and rated very low was Tom Lake. This one was nominated, I think, for the Booker Prize or maybe for the Women's Prize. I was trying to read a bunch of prize books and it really didn't go very well. So I gave Tom Lake 2 stars because I thought it was so boring. It was one of the most boring books I've ever read. It was talking about, it was a woman who was middle-aged, she had adult children, and she was talking about her time as a famous person or a celebrity film star and her relationship with a guy back then. And I don't really understand the point of it. I don't know really what this plot was or what the author was trying to get to, what the character was trying to do. It was quite interesting reading about a family getting sort of stuck together during COVID because it's set during the pandemic, during the early days when you couldn't leave the house. But I think that's the only thing this book had going for it. It was boring. I didn't care about these characters and their relationships, so did not enjoy it, and I'm glad that it didn't win whatever prize that it was up for. One book that really disappointed me was Happiness Falls by Angie Kim because I've read Miracle Creek by her and absolutely loved it. It was stunning, but this one I gave 2 stars. So this one was about a father who is out with his son who is disabled. They're on a walk in the woods having a lovely time, I assume, and then all of a sudden the son goes running back and he goes back to his family and he's pretty much non-verbal and he really struggles to get across that their father is missing. Something's happened to the father. It's about the family sort of investigating what's happened, where the dad has gone because he's completely disappeared. Last they knew, he was going for his usual walk in the woods. I thought it was well written. I really do enjoy Angie Kim's writing style, but the plot for this one was really quite boring. So again, a 2-star boring read. And I was really disappointed because I thought it was going to be another Miracle Creek's 5-star situation. One book that I rated 2 stars because it was really freaking weird was Luna. This is a graphic novel. I'm not even really sure what it was about. I finished it in February and I don't know. All I'm getting in my mind is just like weird vibes. I don't really know what to say about this one. I don't know. As you can see, it has thrown me. Another bad book that I read in 2024 was Ordinary Human Failings, and this isn't necessarily a bad one. This is another prize book that I was trying to read. I did read, I gave it 2 stars. It was just boring, and I think that's what most of my 2-star reads are. I have real trouble with them. Actually, some of these later on, like, they are pretty horrific and maybe I should have given them 1 star. But this one, it was just boring. I enjoyed the concept of it, but I just didn't get on with the writing. Another really, really disappointing book was The 3-Body Problem. So this is obviously really, really well known. I was going to read it and recap it on my channel because the TV show was coming out and I thought that would be really popular. Everyone would appreciate a recap because I've heard that it's a bit like mind-bendy. And again, this was weird. I really, really struggled to read it and to understand what was going on. It started to drag in the middle as well, which is never a good sign. And I thought this was going to be a really action-packed sci-fi book, but I would say this is more literary sci-fi, which is also based around some historic events. I think the next books in the series are going to get even weirder, but I'm not going to be reading them because I cannot put myself through that. I don't know if it was just the translation style because Ken Liu translated this one and I've not liked his books in the past either, so maybe it's just the translation that I didn't get on with. I'm really picky with my translators, I found. I very rarely seem to get on well with a lot of them. I just feel like they don't really capture the story the same way as the author in a lot of cases, and they're kind of missing the vibe or the heart of the story. So I didn't like this one. I was really disappointed because I thought this was going to be a really good trilogy to get stuck into, and I was ready to be confused, but I was not ready to be confused and bored while reading a really terribly written book. I also rated The Wolf of Oraro really low. I gave this one 2 stars as well, obviously. So this is the first book in a fantasy trilogy. And the main character is a queen. She has taken over this empire and a lot of people don't like it. Her husband has run off. He ran off a while ago. She goes to get him back because she thinks that she needs him to win people over because they had like a marriage, or they had like a political marriage bringing 2 sides together. So she kind of needs him to bring the other side back to her. I really loved the first 150 pages of this one. I thought it was really well written, really captivating, loved the idea of the main character going to find this guy who's done a runner, but unfortunately it just didn't hold up. I feel like there was a potential for a really fun romance as well, but the focus was a bit too much on that, I think, for a political fantasy book. There were some assassinations in there that could have been really intriguing and fun to read about. Nothing really, it didn't feel very like high stakes, and nothing really like wowed me. And by the end of it, I just didn't care about this main character and her kid, and especially the husband. So that was really, really disappointing, because I was more than ready to get into another fantasy trilogy, and I'd had this one on my shelf for ages as well. One book that I rated 2 stars is a really, really popular one, and that is Powerless. And I'm actually questioning whether I should actually give this 1 star, because it's just so bad. I don't know why people like it. I don't know if this is people's like first go at fantasy, or maybe I'm just being too judgmental. Maybe people have read loads of fantasy books and they love this one, but it's really poorly written. The writing is repetitive. The plot itself, it's it's very derivative of various other books, particularly The Hunger Games and Red Queen. Red Queen in particular, it reminded me a lot of that, down to the questionable writing style. There was also a female character who dies, and that only kind of pushes the main character's plot forward, and I really, really hate it when that happens in a fantasy book. It happens in a lot of them. It happened in this one. I've read a recap of Reckless, the sequel, and I'm really glad that I didn't enjoy this one, so I won't be disappointed by the second, because apparently Reckless isn't very good, and that's coming from people who did enjoy the first book. Yeah, I didn't like Powerless at all. I hated most of characters, if not all of them. I think it needed more editing, it needed more time spent on it, it needed a better author. Yeah, I didn't like this one in the slightest, and I don't know why I didn't give it 1 star at the time. Maybe I was being nice. I also gave 2 stars to The Housemaids Secret, and that doesn't mean that I don't want to carry on with this series. I just think I read it too close to reading The Housemaid, the first book, and the plot is exactly the same. It's identical. So nothing about this surprised me. I didn't really care for the main character. I often don't in thrillers, but particularly in this one, like, I just don't care about her. I don't know why the author has chosen her as the main character for a whole series of books, because she's so dull and boring, especially for someone who is said to be really dangerous and has a criminal record and stuff, and oh my god, she is dull. I can't even remember her name. I liked the twistiness and the thrilling aspect of this, which is why I want to carry on with the series, because when you need like a basic thriller for a palate cleanser, this series is quite a good one. I gave the first book 3 stars and I gave this one 2. So I'm not expecting amazing things from the third book. I'm not expecting it to be absolutely diabolical either. I think it's just going to be all right. I also gave 2 stars to This World Is Not Yours, and I'm so disappointed by this one, guys. The cover looks so creepy and disturbing. I thought this was going to be a really good space horror, because I'm really into that at the moment. It was more of a family drama set in space with like minor horror elements. I didn't really understand how the horror was coming into it for quite a while, because it felt so disjointed from the rest of the plot. It was basically about these 2 characters, 2 women, and their marriage together, and I don't know why they were married, to be honest, because their relationship was absolutely awful. They should have just got divorced. And I wanted more planetary space horror in this one, because this cover definitely makes it seem like that's going to be the case, and it wasn't. I was so disappointed. The book is less than 200 pages, so I shouldn't have expected anything amazing, but I was expecting more than what I got, which was basically a reality TV show, or just observing characters who should have been in therapy. It was honestly awful, so I gave this 2 stars. And then we're on to my 1-star read, officially my worst book of the year of 2024, and that was The Ministry of Time. I don't know why everyone likes this one. This one has won the Goodreads Choice Awards. It's had so many readers. Publishers are really, really pushing it. Book of the Month, I think, is pushing it as well, and that might be why it's getting so many readers. But this was awful. The reason I didn't like this one was the writing style. Again, that's the case for most of these, actually. Clearly I'm quite picky. So this story is set in the future in the UK. I think there's like a company or the government or something are bringing people forward from the past who would have died in the past, because they've just invented time travel and they want to make sure it happens correctly as they're expecting it. And to experiment on that, they're bringing people forward, because if they're about to die in the past anyway, it shouldn't in theory affect any timelines or anything. So they're doing that, and the main character is working for this company or government, and she is told to buddy up with this guy from the past. And you're just kind of following like their day-to-day life and how the guy from the past is getting used to the present. And I think the idea is like he's meant to like reawaken something in her or something, or show her like life is worth living. I don't really think that was the case. I don't know what people are getting from this book. It's really not that interesting. I'm really disappointed by this one. I like time travel stuff and I like sort of parallel universes and timelines and things, so I was hoping it would get sort of more stuck into that and how messing with the past was affecting the present or future, but it was just following their day-to-day lives, and there was some sort of drama in the middle and towards the end, but because I didn't really care about the first 200 pages, I didn't care about the drama, so I'm really disappointed by this one. It's a debut, so I wasn't expecting it to be like absolutely incredible. Very few authors pull that off in their debut, but I was expecting a fun sci-fi time, and that's not what this was. So I'm just looking at the like stats for my lower rated books, my worst books of the year, and it looks like I had a really bad reading month in February. I rated 3 books 2 stars, actually just 2 stars. March I rated 2, June I rated 2, and then the other months were just kind of more chill. A lot of these were sci-fi or fantasy, and I think that's because I'm trying to pick up more sci-fi books this year. It's not because I hate the genre. All of these are adult books. I haven't rated any YA or middle grade that low, so I don't really know what any of that means. I could have tried to analyse it, but I didn't. For publishers, I only recorded half of them, but most seem to be Penguin, Random House, and that's to be expected because Penguin has bought absolutely everything. I don't know, if you see any patterns in this group of books, let me know in the comments below, and also tell me what your worst book of 2024 was, because I want to know. I'm not going to read it, but I want to know what it was. So thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you all in the next video. Bye.